Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Australian Small Business Podcast, where we help small businesses not only survive, but thrive. This podcast is powered by Happy HR, Australia's #1 HR resource. And once again, I am joined by Chris Smith. Good morning, sir.
G'day, Julian. How are you?
Look, I'm good. Very, very well, thanks. But today's topic is more around people that may not be 100% when it comes to wellness. It's around employee sickness and, of course, this COVID-19 pandemic, which is really literally having an effect on everyone and everything. And we need to have a chat about how small businesses need to be approaching each of these cases of employee sickness.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I know that in your time with helping and consulting people over the last days and weeks, you've been speaking a lot with people around sickness. And have you spoken to people who have been affected by confirmed cases of corona?
We actually have. And it's been lots of different types of questions regarding, you know, quarantine to someone who's had contact with a confirmed case and everything in between, actually.
Right. Okay. Well, look, let's get into the questions, because we've had a lot of questions come into us through help@happyhr.com, which we encourage everyone to do. But the first one was, what do I need to do if one of my employees wants to stay home as they think they might be sick? So not necessarily confirmed, but they think they might be sick.
So a lot of employees at the moment, you got your good employee and your bad employee. So someone, if they think they're sick, realistically, you need to ask questions. Have you been in contact with a confirmed case? Are you living with a confirmed case? Why do you think, if it's sickness, if they're saying, I'm sick because I think I've got COVID-19, where's the evidence around that? Now, if they say, I'm going to stay home, and they've just got the flu or they've got a cold or whatever, it's just a general sick day. As long as they've got a medical certificate, it's a sick day. If they think that they are sick, or been in contact, at that point, you need to advise them, well, if you've been in contact with a confirmed case and you think you're sick because of that, or you need to self-isolate, then, different types of conversations need to be had around leave entitlements and other.
Right. So my understanding is there's quite a difference in which leave it's going to be if someone is certified as sick, so it's confirmed, compared to someone who just thinks that they're sick. So yes. What's the difference? So if someone is genuinely sick, they need a medical certificate to confirm that?
Of course they do.
And if that's the case, they can take sick leave?
Of course.
Yep. But if it's someone who, maybe feels a little bit sniffly, or, I'm not saying anyone's a hypochondriac, but they feel as though, I think I might be getting sick, I just want to stay home. If they don't have a confirmed illness, it's annual leave. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, it comes down to being practical in this situation. So in the situation that, I'm not feeling good today and I'm not coming in, so without a medical certificate, it's the business's choice whether they pay that sick pay or pay unpaid annual leave.
So let's make that really clear. So business owners, because this may be something that they haven't considered or not aware about, the difference of impact of the business on someone taking annual leave compared to sick leave. Let's talk about that now. Sick leave is something that people are entitled to, and they have a fixed amount of days.
Yep, 10 days per year.
Okay,
as a full timer.
And that's it. And so obviously, if someone takes annual leave, that's something that is depleted and needs to grow again. So it's honestly in the best interests of a business if they have the opportunity to either give sick leave or annual leave. Annual leave is usually better if we're just simply looking at bottom line for the business.
Look, I wouldn't look at it as bottom line for the business. I think what the most important thing to do is the distinction between someone being actually sick and someone taking a day off. So the way I'd actually distinguish it is, if you're not feeling well, go see a medical professional and get a medical certificate, and then you can then successfully apply for sick leave. If you are not feeling well, but you're not going to get a medical certificate, then that is either paid annual leave, I'm taking annual leave day today, or unpaid annual leave, I'm taking a day off, but don't pay me for today.
But it can't be confirmed as sick leave without a certificate.
That's correct, and that's the difference that people should realise. Now, in the case that I'm not feeling well, but I've actually had interactions with a confirmed case.
Yep.
And I'm going to stay away from the business because of that situation.
Which is what you'd want them to do
Which
anyway.
is what you want them to do. In that case, you would say, okay, it's today or tomorrow or the next day until you're confirmed or not, take paid annual leave or unpaid annual leave. But that's not a sick pay, because in that case, they're not sick, they're just isolating. It's a difference.
So, but then in that situation, let's say that it's put in as annual leave, but then you do get a certificate back saying that, hey, look, I am actually ill. Can that be changed back to sick leave, or how would that work?
If you have to do something retrospectively, so I'm not feeling great, I'm just going to see how I go today, and then all of a sudden the next day they're really, really unwell, and they get a medical certificate. I mean, I think most people are pretty realistic. Look, you've been off today and you've been off tomorrow. You've got now a medical certificate for those 2 days. Doctors will sometimes backdate because of that situation, so they've got a certificate for those 2 days. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay. So then it comes down to, again, having that medical practitioner actually doing that. The other thing I'll say to employers is be careful with certificates. Some employees get a certificate from a pharmacist. That's not a certified practitioner. So that medical certificate, to be honest with you, I wouldn't accept that.
No.
It's very easy to go and walk into a pharmacy, say I'm unwell, get a certificate or a written notification from a pharmacist, but they can't certify you sick or not. If someone gives you a pharmacy-based certificate, you should be going back to that employee and saying, go get a medical certificate from a GP now and letting me know that you are in fact fit for work.
Right.
So just be very careful there, guys.
I think that's in this situation with the corona pandemic, the fit for work certificate is probably more important than the not sick for work one right now. So I think I already know the answer to this one. So that then if somebody just wants to take time off because they're afraid of getting sick, so let's say it's a supermarket worker who's on the register, and they go, you know what, I actually just don't want to work because I don't want to get sick. They obviously sick leave doesn't come into
apply
because they're not sick. It's going to be either paid or unpaid annual leave.
That's correct.
100%. Okay, cool. Good to know. So,
and that's by negotiation. At the end of the day, if the business requires them to be there, it's a really insinuating circumstance at the moment, because some employees, may have a medical reason. I get lots of bad asthma, so because this COVID-19 affects the lungs, I'm going to isolate myself so I can be protected. You'd be lenient on that type of situation. But if someone's just taking time off, they're not in contact with people, they're wearing face masks, or you still need them to work, that can be, in some cases, and this is really tough at the moment to give real advice, because it could be that are they being insubordinate but not coming into work because you've not granted that leave. So is there going to be grounds for abandonment of employment? These are very grey areas at the moment, because businesses...
This has never happened.
Never happened. You need to make it a ruling if, you need to be turning up to work and you're not turning up to work and you haven't granted leave, then they'll be expected to work. In those cases, then if people say, well, I'm not working, I'm resigning, or I'm abandoning my employment, those provisions in the Act and the awards may be triggered because of that employee's attitude towards them isolating. So you need to be very careful there.
Yeah, I think that this current climate just is for common sense and negotiation, as though that we're not saying breaking rules, we're bending rules and general procedures. Everything needs to be considered right now, because we are in unprecedented times. Now, we've actually had a lot of queries coming through in regards to quarantines and being like people who are asking, hey, look, I've got a worker who's stuck in quarantine. They've just come home from holidays, or they're even stuck overseas still. What do I do in this situation?
Yeah, it's an interesting... We actually have a client that has got a employee who's actually been stuck in Wuhan. And in Wuhan, you weren't allowed to leave, you had to isolate. They locked it down for 6-8 weeks. So after they didn't get on the Mercy flight with Qantas, or chose not to because they thought it would be over faster than what they thought. And they're still stuck there. So the employee wants to work, can't work remotely. And so in that particular case, the employee wants to come back but physically can't, is unable by law,
logistically
can't come back. So in that case, they're stood down without pay, but their job is secure when they come back.
Yeah,
right?
because it's not they can't do it. They want to be there,
It's
but
legitimately not their fault.
It's very different to someone who's just, I'm at home, I don't want to go. This person is doing everything they can to get
Correct,
back.
exactly right. So that's actually something that has happened this week. We've got other cases where their housemate is just returned from overseas, and now their housemate needs to isolate. In that case, it's a really...
Geez, that's a tough situation.
It's a really tough situation. You've got a housemate,
Welcome home, huh?
Yeah, welcome home. This particular housemate doesn't have parents, so they can't go and sit with parents, and they've got no one else they can go to. So there's two situations for that housemate. Number one, look, I understand, but you might need to get some lodging somewhere, because if you come home and isolate here, you're going to prevent me from earning an income. So I then have to isolate because I'm in contact with someone who is quarantining, and you may have had contact, and then you may infect me. So, mate, sorry, you can't come home in that situation.
I mean, obviously that's got nothing to do with the employer but just for the employee. That's a tough situation to be for both parties.
Correct.
And I'm sure that housemate, at this point, all they want to do is get home.
Exactly right.
But,
so in that event that their housemate has to come home because they literally don't have the financial means, income, whatever it might be, that person who's the employee, who's got their housemate who's returning and doesn't have that situation, they'll have to isolate because they are in contact with someone quarantining. So then unpaid or annual leave will have to be taken. So it's a really tough call, and I've actually seen that happen quite a bit this week with clients and other people who've been emailing help at Happy HR. So, these are tough times. The looking at ScoMo and the health general last night speaking, isolate yourself. If you think you're caught or you've got you've been in contact with people, you need to stay by yourself and isolate. This is how we buck the trend on this.
It's just so frustrating.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
People, I'm just going to go around to my mate's place and we're social isolating. We'll just go sit there and talk or have a couple of drinks and watch Netflix or whatever. That's okay. I'm just going around there. But then let's say that you did have corona and you're asymptomatic. You didn't know you did. You give it to your friend. That friend, I'm just going to go around to a mate's place. We're going to hang out. It's kind of like when you've got that best friend who keeps a secret. Look, you can't tell anyone, but then they go and tell the next friend, you can't tell anyone, but, and it's going to go around. So
I've got a better analogy than that. Imagine you've got Jane, you've got Dick, right? Jane and Dick both don't feel great, and they both get tested for coronavirus. And Jane, she goes home and isolates. But Dick, he goes out to the gym, goes as a coffee with a mate, goes and does his errands, still feels a bit crap. They both test positive for COVID-19, but Jane has not infected anyone, but Dick has infected probably 12 people. So the essence of that is don't be a dick.
Yeah, pretty much. Don't be like Dick, that's for sure. Now, one of the big ones, we had someone come in and talk to us about it because they had someone who did test positive to COVID-19, and they asked, do I need to close my business down because we had a staff member? Like, is that the law? Do they need to shut down if one of their staff members had COVID-19?
So I think it depends on the circumstances. Did that employee?
But is it the law? Do they have to shut down?
There's actually different rulings from the Health Council, and it's hard to give actual factual advice on this because you may, like, for example, one of our politicians was found to Peter Dutton. He got sick. They sterilised the Parliament, and then after sterilisation, they started work again. So I think the practical advice from the health department is to close down, thoroughly clean, and then make sure that you've done all the necessary things in that regards. And anyone who had contact with that particular person should isolate for that time. If that then means your business has to shut down because of that, that is probably the best advice I can give. And that's general in nature. Yeah. It's tough, but that may be what you may or may not need to do in that regards.
I think regardless of business or not, anyone who had been in contact with that employee or or was in the same area
Yeah.
as they were, because they could have picked up, had door handles, everything like
Yeah.
that. They should be going and getting tested
Definitely
ASAP.
getting tested, yes.
Yeah, so look, that is an unfortunate thing where, it's probably best practice, and this is the problem where you'll have a lot of people who are like, no, I'm not shutting down, or I'm not changing my social lifestyle, and getting really selfish with it. But the thing is, that's just going to extend everything longer and longer and put a lot of other people at risk.
I think people need to realise in Australia that we are going to go through some pain, but if we don't take the Health General's advice and isolate, don't see anyone face to face, keep that 4 metre rule, do that social isolation, and so on and so forth, this will continue and get even worse, and the damage will be even more significant.
Right.
So it is really important that we take it seriously, and in the case that people are saying they're not well, they need to go get tested and isolate during those times to ensure that they keep themselves, their family, their workmates safe. It's very important.
Absolutely. So, look, as a bit of a wrap up of what we've spoken about today, if an employee is sick and they do have a medical certificate to confirm that illness, that is going to be sick pay.
Yep.
If they don't, if they're just trying to avoid a certain situation and don't want to come into work, that's going to be annual leave, whether that's paid or unpaid. And then also in situations where people are forced into quarantine, unfortunately, against their will, so to speak, they're probably going to have to take annual leave, but we're not going to consider that as an abandonment of employment.
Correct.
Cool. Okay, so look, Happy HR is here to help all small businesses in Australia, to guide them and navigate them through these tricky times. There's a lot of decisions that business owners need to make, which have a lot of moving parts and a lot of short and long-term implications. Chris, you're here to help them at the moment, aren't you? And that's going to be free advice at the moment.
Absolutely. So if you just email through your detailed email through to help@happyhr.com, we'll get that email and we'll help you. We're definitely committed to the Australian small business community, helping them through this pandemic. And there'll be a lot of nervousness out there. So quite sincerely, we're genuinely here to help.
Absolutely. And getting across all your HR processes is so important right now, because this is when businesses, can't afford to have fair work claims against them. But the thing which is going to make that happen, more likely to happen right now, is B, the fact that employees are going to be very aware of their rights.
Yep.
So what that means is if they're going to be made redundant, whether their hours are going to be slashed, anything like that, they're going to be fighting tooth and nail and looking into their entitlements. So you need to get this right. So if you're not sure if you are doing everything correctly, jump onto the Happy HR website, which is happyhr.com, and click on the free risk assessment button. It's a short 5-minute questionnaire, which is going to allow you to find out your HR health score, how well you're doing in certain areas, such as your compliance documents, your performance management, and so on, and show you how you can actually fix it and to avoid these big risks. So let's help to minimize the frustration and pain for businesses. Chris, I know that you've had a lot of people fill out that report. They've been quite astounded at how the things that they're not doing that they weren't even aware of, and you've been able to guide them to a lot more, I guess, HR peace of mind.
Absolutely. Look, we've had an amazing response to the risk report and reassessment that people are doing. It takes 5 minutes. People don't know what they don't know, but this is a time where you can go, okay, I've got a bit of extra time on my hands, do the risk report, find out what you're doing wrong, and like you said, doing something about it. And people have been really valuing it. And so to be able to take their business to that new standard with their HR is something that you're mandated by law to do in a lot of cases. So, check out that report, and I think you'll be blown away by the quality of the document that you receive. It's free, and it gives you some very good practical advice in these tough times.
Fantastic. Well, once again, thank you so much for your time, Chris. Everyone stay healthy, stay safe, make smart business decisions so that you can not only survive during this time, but be ready to thrive as we come out of it. Chris,
Thanks so much, Julian.
all right, take care, everyone. Have a great day.